The urinary incontinence was horrendous by the point I got to needing something other than medication. I couldn't go out really because any situation where I laughed, my bladder emptied completely. If I needed to go to the toilet and I couldn't get there on time, my bladder emptied completely wherever I was. So I was very, very restricted, but I had just gone through a terrible divorce and I knew I was going to have to go back to work. And I had to have it sorted to be able to work. I did do the medication route and didn't work. And then I was offered mesh. I wasn't told about any other procedure that was available. And being offered the mesh, I was then asked if I would be part of the SIMS trial that was going on at the time.
Right.
So I consented to do that. I was told the risks were minimal, that my surgeon had done over 400 of these operations at that point. And the only real thing they said was that I may suffer pain for a few days more than anticipated. I could bleed a little, and the risk of infection, which was very little because there was no external scar points. Everything was done internally with SIMS. And that was the risks I was told of. And that's not what happened.
So let's talk about what did happen.
When I was awake for my operation, when I was wheeled through from theatre to my bed, they asked me to go to the bathroom as soon as possible, obviously make sure the bladder was working. I swung my legs out of bed, put my feet on the floor, stood up and fell to the floor. I had no feeling in the tops of my legs. And for the rest of the day, that was my op was about 11:30 in the morning, and it took 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. And at 6 o'clock at night, when I was supposed to be going home, I still couldn't feel my legs. I'd also started to be sick, which I'd told them I would be because they told me there was morphine in the pre-med and I don't react well to it, but she said it was a small amount, wouldn't matter. They kept me in, and it wasn't until between 9 and 10 that night when I started to get some feeling back in my leg, and the pain was excruciating. Down my right leg, it was horrendous. They treated it as muscle pain. They gave me paracetamol and diclofenac, and I was released the next morning. In my notes, I believe it says that I walked out of hospital. I could barely move, and for the next 7 weeks, I could barely move. The pain just got worse and worse, and I then started to experience bowel incontinence. And my GP it was that said to me, "This isn't muscle pain, something's gone wrong here, you have nerve damage." To which my surgeon said my GP should stick to what he knows, that I didn't have nerve damage, and sent me to neurosurgery to see if there was something wrong with my spine. I had back pain at this point as well. All of those things I've seen every consultant under the sun: neurology, neurosurgery, neurophysiology, orthopedics, you name it, I've been there. Neurophysiology proved that I had nerve damage. 3 different nerves affected in the one leg.
And how long ago was this?
That was the 13th of June 2014, a day I will not forget. 4.5 years, it's been constant pain. I am on a horrendous amount of medication. One of the girls in our group is a pharmacist, and she was horrified to hear the amount of gabapentin I take a day just to function. It doesn't take the pain away totally, but I can function on it. I can't work full time. I have bursitis in both hips now because I walked so awkwardly when the pain was bad. I've had steroid injections into both hips. I've had 2 steroid injections into my back. I've had lithotripsy on my hips. Nothing has taken away any of the pain from my back and my hips. That's just there. And the nerve pain is just bearable.
So for the future, you're concerned?
The future, I'm concerned. I consider myself to be lucky in a way, considering how some others are. My mesh hasn't affected affected any of my organs or started cutting as yet. And I'm terrified that it will. I want my mesh out. The people who can take it out are very few and far between, and there are some stories that are horrendous for having the mesh removed. I've been told that to remove the hook that's in my nerve is an even more complicated operation because it means going into the groin where there are even more nerves and the chance of more damage, and they're not even sure they could get the hook. It may cause less pain. I've come to terms that I will live in pain now for the rest of my life. And I'm terrified that the amount of medication I have to take just keeps going up to make every day bearable. If I don't work, I lose my home. And this was supposed to be a time in my life that was easier and settled. I had, after the divorce, I had really got back to my old self, and that's what I was hoping this op would do. It would just be the ending to that phase of my life, and it's just opened up another horrendous phase. And just to live every day in pain, to sleep. I sleep with a maternity pillow because every time I turn on my hip, my back is burnt because I keep boiling hot water bottles on. And in fact, to begin with, my leg was totally burnt. I've been to every form of physiotherapy. Right now I'm doing acupuncture just to see if I can get some relief. And I think one of the hardest things is it not being believed what you're suffering. And I really feel that even though my pain started the day of the operation, everything was done to distance the operation from my pain. And in fact, the last meeting I had with my consultant that did the op, he told me it was my body.